No kidding. Awesome little guy.
All right, I have 4:33. At this time, we'll call the meeting of the Kansas City Commission to order. Commissioner Ray.
Yeah. Father, we thank you for, Father, we just thank you for a beautiful day in Canyon, Texas. We thank you that you allow us to live here, Father, in a great community. Father, we lift up, Father, I want to lift up especially just the staff that works here in Canyon, all of the staff that helps take care of us, those of us that live here. Father, I pray for your protection on them, especially our first responders and just the entire staff. Father, we pray that you will guide us today and help us to make wise decisions. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That takes us to the approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 10th, 2022.
I looked over them, and if there are changes,
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. All right. That takes us to item number 5, public comment. Comments from interested citizens.
Nobody has time to get weird.
All right. Thank you. Item number 6, to conduct first public hearing on ordinance number 1151, annexing territory to the City of Canyon for Canyon East Unit number 10, requested by Coolin & Sons, LP. An ordinance of the City of Canyon, Texas, annexing the territory herein described to the City of Canyon in Grandview County, Texas, extending the boundary limits of the City of Canyon to include the property herein described within the said city limits, and granting to all the inhabitants of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding said inhabitants by all the acts, ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of said city. Danny?
Thank you, Mayor. This, if you guys recall, we adopted this annexation calendar last month for these items. Ordinance number 1151 has been developed for annexing the latest addition to the Canyon East subdivision. It would be just on the south end, close to I-27, but on the southern end of that property. I think at this point, probably looking at due to possible lack of sewer availability, probably some half-acre lots, curb and gutter, city water, but septic systems down in there. Those lots, 20-some odd lots, I think. They're still working on that final layout. The property's owned by Coolman & Sons, LP, of course. And tonight we're going to hold 2 public hearings. Ignore what the gibberish that I've written in your memo. I don't know what I was writing at that point in time. I apologize for that. Chapter 43 requires adoption of the ordinance not more than 40 days after the first public hearing, not less than 20 days after the second public hearing. Because of those timelines, like we talked about before, without meeting almost one time a week, those timelines won't work out to have 2 separate meetings. So we're allowed to, based on opinion from the Texas Municipal Legal Counsel, to have both those public hearings in one night to make that work. And Chuck agreed with that. He studied it and agreed with that. So we'll have both those public hearings back to back tonight. In your packet, you'll see the letter from requesting annexation. Chuck's petition of the voluntary annexation, the landowner for voluntary annexation. The exhibit, the service plan, which is required, notifying all the public facilities and the services that can be provided. I've added a map that I've drawn just to give you guys kind of aerial idea of where this layout is. That empty space adjacent to it, you can see kind of come up to the northwest. That's the property that Joe Shane hasn't platted yet, but he requested and received an RC1 zoning designation. I think he's getting pretty close to working on that also. We're talking about that area in red tonight. It's a 12.91 acre annexation. Annexation calendar again is in there. We'll take final action. The plan is to take final action on the adoption ordinance on the next meeting on March the 7th. All the notices of public hearings were placed in the paper, and so all requirements have been met, and ordinance is also in there. We would take final action to adopt that ordinance in the next meeting. So that would the process. So tonight, like I said, we're just going to have 2 back-to-back public hearings. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. And Larry Wilhite, I see he is back there ready to answer any questions.
Half-acre lots have 24 lots, something like that.
Something like that.
Correct.
20. Curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter.
Yeah. There's a big proponent of curb and gutter. Just like these bullets. Anyway, you guys don't have any other questions?
So we're doing this under separate agenda items, Mayor. This is agenda item 6. We're going to need to open and conduct public hearing under both agenda items.
Okay. If there's not any other questions for Danny or discussion, we will open the public hearing then.
No, sir.
Okay. And we will close the public hearing, and no actions required there. Do we need to read the entire caption or
It will be
He read it during the reading of the agenda item. I've got the whole caption down here.
okay. So what I would do is call agenda item number 7 with the same caption and open the public hearing on agenda item number 7.
Okay. So we will go to item number 7 with the same caption. And with that, unless there's any discussion, we'll open up the public hearing on item number 7. So,
Nobody's done anything.
all right. And then we will close the public hearing. All right. Well, that takes care of that portion. Thank you, Larry. And we will go to item number 8, and got some exciting stuff here. The Canyon Area Library Annual Report. Andrew?
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Andrea Hine. I'm the Assistant Library Director at the Canyon Area Library and currently serving as the Interim Director. And I want to say thank you so much for having me with you this afternoon to present the library's fiscal 2020 and 2021 end of the year report. So, as you can see up here on this first slide, there's a couple stats, and the first one is we had a total of 7,923 patrons that entered this library, and we're in our system. After 3 years of being inactive, they do fall out of our system. We made 771 new cards. We had 34,311 patrons that visited, and we circulated 51,900 materials. We had 4,836 computer uses, and then we also had 159 programs with an attendance of 6,392. But that number is high because we had a virtual attendance. So that's just to keep that in mind for next year. On the next slide, this is our whole room, and we had some updates happen during this fiscal year. So we had wallpaper removed, the room was painted, a new table was added, new carpet and new chairs.
And so on the next slide, you can see that this is what it looks like today. This room is used for department head meetings, interviews, knit night, book club, and the public can also schedule meetings and different various programs within there. It's a really nice, spacious room and is very cleaned and ready for use for everybody. We also updated our library lobby and the Friends of the Library bookstore. This space is also more inviting. Many patrons use the library bookstore. It's open while we're open the entire time. People filter in and out. It feels very welcoming for them. We finished out the carpet in the closet as well. The wall, sorry, on the, if you don't mind going back just one more, sorry. On the, up top on the atrium right there, that had wallpaper that was peeling down. And so that's why we painted it, but it's really neat because the paint actually matches to a T from the original paint that was started back 20 years ago, so we're pretty proud of that. On the next slide, we installed handicapped doors on the main entrance. It's a 2-set door system, so it's accessible to all who come into the library. We had them on the north doors, but now they don't have to go just to the north doors. They can go to the north or the main entrance doors and use any set of doors. So we're very happy about that as well. And there's buttons that are on the outside, in the middle, and on the inside. So they open at the same time, but if they do happen to close while they're in there, they can get out, in or out, no matter what. On the next slide, we also received several upgrades pertaining to our computers during this fiscal year. Microsoft 19 was installed on 26 computers. This includes all computers in the computer lab, the circulation desk, and the back office computers. The back office station, along with the circulation desk, were updated with new computers. Those are the 3 in the center there. And then we also updated the chairs in the computer lab with the help of the Friends of the Library. They're all matching, which before they were very mismatched, and they are much easier to keep sanitized. Okay, and then to the next slide, please. This is a list of various programs that we do offer and have offered during this fiscal year. Some happen each month, some once in the spring, once in the fall, and summer reading happens in the summer only. There are a few that were presented by volunteers, such as Saturday tutoring or knit night, or by the local college like the WT Storytellers. These programs are well attended and very much anticipated by our public. And on the next slide, we have a couple more programs that are listed as well. The next slide, please. This is just some graphics and images of our programs that we post on our social media, our website, that we share with the public, that we post dates with, so that they can, we advertise with them, they can see what's coming up, and they can see when to attend. And the next slide has more of them. The Medicare is one that is presented by volunteers. It happens on the 4th Saturday of every month. This slide is about our summer reading that happened in the 2020 and 2021 year. The theme was Tales and Tales. Summer reading provides children and families with loads of opportunities to take advantage of excellent summer programming planned at the library at no cost to the users, while encouraging reading to continue during the summer months to try and help prevent the summer slide. We began sign-ups on May 24th, and I'm proud to say that we had a record number of sign-ups with 1,132 total sign-ups. This is the most we've ever had before. We did mainly grab-and-go crafts this year due to COVID, and a few in-person programs, and we also did a weekly scavenger hunt that kept children engaged while at the library. We did see a huge desire for the scavenger hunt with weekly participation, and the children did want to see which friend was missing, which right there it said, you can see where it says missing, we see the macaw. They were very excited to find their missing friend and also look for a new adventure with the book. You may think them getting a piece of candy had a little bit to do with this after they found their friend, but maybe not. It might just be the adventure of finding that friend. Graphics did go out weekly on social media again, so they could find out when programming was happening. We also did Facebook events to be reminders. Weekly calendars were posted for the full summer on our library website, and we sent out weekly calendars to the CISD e-flyers link to go out to all the schools, so parents could also get that reminder. Our next slide is library services. These services were provided to all of our patrons. If a patron requires assistance, the library staff are very knowledgeable and happy to help when needed. We advertise these on our website. We have signage in the library, and many of these services the patrons can access by themselves, but again, our staff are very knowledgeable and can help the patrons when they come in. And these are images to let you see some of the services available in the library. We have Hoopla and Cloud Library, which are digital services that you can download to your phone to access audio and ebooks. We have a 3D printer, which you can print little trinkets or designs if you bring in a file. We have a computer lab, a copier machine. We have a mobile print. If you don't have a printer at home, people can send a print job to the library and show up at the library and have it printed for you. Fax machine, and we do have databases that has resumes and many other various sources for them to utilize by the library for free with the use of a library card. Next slide, please. We participated with the new teacher orientation with CISD. To welcome all the new teachers this year, we brought with us buttons, pre-sharpened pencils, library card applications, Friendsville library applications, magnets, gummy worms that had a tag that said to keep you company while you're reading, and also free books while they lasted to hand out and welcome all of the new teachers. We were told there was a participation of 175 people, but that's just, and we also had a sign that definitely advertised our library so they knew where to come to get their library cards. And then we recently found out that we received the Achievement of Excellence in Libraries Award for 2021 through the TMLDA, and we're pretty proud of this. This is the first time that the Canyon Area Library has ever received this award. And what this is annually to libraries that demonstrate consistent excellence and outstanding contributions to public library services within their communities. In 2021, of the 565 public library systems in Texas, only 59 libraries earned this year's award. So this is pretty outstanding that our library was able to receive this award. I'm very proud of our library and of all the hard work and dedication from each and every member of staff that put in the effort to make this happen. The library would not be what it is without them. We are happy to be able to provide library services for our community, and credit is also due to our former director, Janice Doan, as she had a part in this award as well. And then, last but not least, we're in the process of receiving a grant. We have been given the opportunity to receive this through the Emergency Connectivity Fund. It is a $7.17 billion program funded by the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to help schools and libraries support remote learning. The program will be providing funding to schools and libraries for the reasonable cost of equal or eligible equipment and services that can be provided to students, teachers, and library patrons who lack connected devices such as laptop or tablet computers and or lack broadband access during the pandemic. We were presented this opportunity by T-Mobile and Premier Wireless through our library consortium, which is called Harrington Library Consortium, and where we filled out information with all the libraries that are connected within our consortium. Troy Wilson with the HLC was in charge of maintaining all of this and ensuring we were all taken care of, and thanks to her magnificent help, we secured these devices. We will hopefully have these shipped to us soon and ready to use for the public. We're working on a checkout agreement policy form, storage, charging cart, and more, so we can have these readily available for the public when it comes time and we receive all of these. But we are going to receive 36 devices total. We'll have 26 laptops, 5 top spots with LTE, 5 silver spots with LTE, and so the top spots and silver spots are those tablets, and the laptops are Chromebooks. Okay. Are there any questions?
How's things going at Jan's?
We miss her. She was so wonderful, and she did a whole lot for the library and for the community. So it's different, but we're looking forward to finding a new director and providing further for the community with a new one. But we definitely miss Janice.
We appreciate you stepping up to that.
Thank you. Definitely not filling her shoes by any means, but definitely miss her, and it's.
And we did a great job, they did, during COVID of providing services. We never really slacked off. There was a couple of weeks there when we all started 2 years ago, when no one knew what to do. And then we figured out what to do, and we did it. Whether that was drive-through books, call us, we'll pull them and put them outside on the table, and then it became, you could come inside and pick them up, and a few people could come inside, and you could come in a mask, and then everybody could come in, and we just kept providing those services to the extent that larger libraries in the area were unable to work through that process and stayed closed. And so we had individuals from Amarillo coming and applying for library cards so that they could check out a book and continue to read and do those things. So they continue to provide those services, even as recently a few months ago we still had libraries in Texas that were still closed. That people still hadn't figured out how to do that. And our staff was able quickly to figure that out, and we kept rolling. Which
I think
is all.
that's huge kudos for our community too. We talked about mental health through all this crisis. And, I think that's really big kudos for doing that.
And there is a link on our website for mental health as well. People need access to information on our library website. It's directly at the top. People are looking for something.
And she kind of breezed through the hoopla, but hoopla was one of the things that really we thought would explode. It did take off during this time because they were able to do things electronically, correct? Through hoopla?
Absolutely. We have free checkouts, up to 5 currently, but it's free at no cost to the user. You just need a library card with the Canyon Area Library. You have 5 checkouts on there. You can use Cloud Library, and you have checkouts provided to you through that application, and you just use your library card. Again, and there's no limitation on there. You just have to return your ebook or your audiobook. Hoopla does more comic books, movies, music, and Cloud Library is audiobook or ebook. But there's a lot of great resources. TechShare has a lot of great resources that were accessed through COVID, whether it was homework or resumes or various other online resources that people needed and couldn't have because there weren't things in person. Our online increased dramatically.
Is there a fee to use the conference room?
No, you just have to put down a deposit, and then once we check it after it's used, we usually get that right back.
Very nice room. Underutilized by our community, but a very, very nice room. A great place to meet. If you need a place to meet, it's a nice place to meet.
You just gotta contact the library and schedule it, get on the calendar, and so long as nobody has that day, we'll get you on there.
The award is, we're only one of 2 libraries receive this award this year, us and our counterpart in the North. So this Library Achievement Award has been something that our staff has been working on.
There are 2 in this area?
Yeah, in this area. Sorry, I should have. Amarillo and Canyon are the only ones in this region that I'm aware of that have achieved this award. There's only so many in the state of Texas, but programming's in there. There's a bunch of criteria that has to be met. And this team, this outstanding library team, has met it. So I will put out kudos to our county partners. County does participate with us financially to the Canyon Area Library, and I have shared the great news with them as well. Without their contributions over the years, it's been really generous. They continue to support our Canyon Area Library as well. But my remarks to our staff for this unprecedented achievement.
Absolutely. Without them, we would not be the library that we are.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Congratulations. That now takes us to item number 9, consider and take appropriate action on the Canyon Police Department 2021 annual report and 2021 racial profiling report. Chief?
No pressure after that.
Okay, I can't do that, so y'all might as well just, I don't know, if we're getting a grade, I'm gonna go ahead and withdraw from this class. No, thank you for having us. We're glad to present our numbers, and I know it's a little boring, but we like to let y'all know what's going on and kind of what we're up to and where we're at. Special thanks this year. Megan didn't want any credit, but she created this flyer or our document. You know, from me, you're going to get some black and white PDF scanned in, and so Megan created this deal. It's really nice. It looks really professional, and she did a good job. So we wanted to say thanks to Megan for doing that. So we're happy to present our report for 2021. 2021 obviously was a lot different than 2020, so our numbers jumped around a little bit. I want to recognize the men and women of our department who've worked through all of this. We did spend most of 2021 a little short-handed. We got down to 4 short at one time, and for a 26 officer department, that's quite a shortage. But everybody stepped up and did their part. We got through that. We got 4 people hired. We got them trained. They're out on their own. It's like a breath of fresh air to have that many new people that are available to help us out there. On the third page is our organizational chart. Hey, sorry about the picture. I know nobody wants to wake up and look at that every morning, but that's just that was me. So
well, that's Zoom.
Thank you, Don. So the next page is our organizational chart. We included that just to kind of show we have made some changes. I think that was 2020, 2021 changes that we brought in a second lieutenant. You can see we have a patrol lieutenant and an administrative lieutenant, and that kind of divided up some of the people and some of the work. It seems to be working really well. We're accomplishing a lot of things. We've got a lot of parts moving, but they're all kind of coming together at the same time. The patrol lieutenant supervises the animal control officer and the patrol officers, while the administrative lieutenant supervises the SROs, or school resource officers, and the detectives, and you know, with the famous administrative title, whatever else comes up and gets thrown in their lap. We are still an accredited agency recognized by the state of Texas, the Texas Police Chiefs Association. We are 5 times recognized. We're one of the first 3 departments in the state that were ever recognized when this program started. Captain Coggins has taken over as the program manager for that. He was promoted to captain this year, and with that comes the program manager deal. So he's making sure we're all up to speed with that, and doing, kind of keeping us going there, and even taking some things to the next level. That's kind of what we always want to do, is continue to grow and get better and better. So Matt's really been working hard on that. He's spent a lot of time studying and reading recognition stuff. You can imagine how exciting that is, but he's doing a great job, and he knows all things recognition if you would like to ask him questions. Moving on to the numbers. I know y'all are excited to get to that. So we made our report look a little different this year without all the graphs and charts, and just put the numbers up there. Everything, as a general rule, went up this year, as we kind of expected after last year being shut down for a big part of the year. The jump in calls for service and our Part 1 crumbs is not huge, but it is significant. I think part of that is the continued growth of the city. I don't foresee that going down anytime in the future, but it will continue to grow, I think, and to increase. At this point, I feel like we're in pretty good shape to to continue dealing with that, with the personnel and the equipment that we have that y'all blessed us with. We're kind of continuing to monitor that to see how that goes and how much we need to add or what we need to do to improve on that. So in the annual report, by city ordinance, I'm required to give an annual traffic report too, and I guess that we've always done this as part of the annual report, the traffic report, and the racial profiling report. So that's why this is all kind of combined. We did increase pretty severely with the crashes this year, and that kind of corresponds with our the other two categories up there with the drunk driving arrest and the citations. The MIC thing went down this year. That fluctuates simply, I think, partly because you just kind of have to catch people at that. Depends on the number of parties we go to, or if we stop a carload of kids and they all got beer, or there's a lot of things that go into that. I think that the officers, while that number did go down, I think the officers are continuing to enforce that, not overly aggressively, but at a level where the message gets out that this is serious, we take it serious, and you can't do this kind of thing. So with the citations, that went up quite a bit, and we noticed that with the as we were going through the year, we continued to have more and more crashes. In 2020, you'll notice we had 2 fatalities, but that was one wreck, and it was that crash with the semi at 25, 90, and 60. That was 2 people died in one crash. This year, we've had 3 crashes that were single victim fatalities. So our fatal crashes and the contributing factors to our fatal crashes, going from technically 1 to 3, it's concerning because of the increase in traffic and the thing that are causing those. One crash was we feel alcohol related. Well, 2 crashes were alcohol related. One we can't really say, the one about by the milk plant. We have no indication that there was alcohol related there. Just a speed crash, probably an inattentive driver. But those are just concerns for us. So that leads to the citations where the officers are increasing their traffic enforcement to try to cut down on those crashes. Not that we necessarily want to get people in trouble or make them pay huge traffic fines or anything like that. We just don't want them to have crashes because they're getting more severe. We have more personal injury crashes and more fatalities. The Part 1 crimes that we're reporting are up for the most part in assaults, burglaries, larceny, theft, and we had 1 arson this year. We did solve the arson, so that was a good deal. The assaults nearly doubled. I don't know if y'all remember, but last year they nearly doubled also. I thought it was a reporting issue because we now report on an incident-based system versus strictly a crime system. So we went from reporting felony assaults or aggravated assaults to all assaults, and so I thought that was the number, but then we doubled again this year, and so I'm not sure what the cause is for that. I don't have a real good answer on why we're doubling up on assaults. I ran each of these individually, and I did find that we did have several where they're classified as assault by state and federal standards. I think we had 3 that were injury to an elderly, and that's classified as an assault. We had 5 to 8, I can't remember the exact number, of indecent assault. It's a new offense that not this past legislative session, but the one before. Indecent assault was made into law. It's not a sexual assault, but it's a sexual touch, basically, that we now have an offense for. Before, If a person was grabbed inappropriately, it was not a sexual assault, it was just a simple assault, Class C misdemeanor, pay your fine and go on about your way. Now that's an indecent assault, so it kind of ups the ante there a little bit. But that's the only thing I can come up with for really raising our numbers that high. So I don't have a real good answer for that. The larceny thefts is, this kind of comes and goes. We still have a lot of theft at Walmart. We report all of those thefts. Even if we just go out and write them a ticket for a little Class C theft or whatever, we still report those to the state just so we can get an accurate number. That's probably going to continue to rise as people continue to struggle with making ends meet and drug addiction and all those problems that cause people to steal. Drug seizures were pretty average. We're not super concerned with those. The big jump there is in THC. This is because of the THC wax and the gummies and the suckers and those cool things that you can buy and bring into town. Usually what will happen is they'll have those cool THC things that they bought in Colorado, but they'll smoke weed in their car all the way back to Canyon, Texas. So the officers smell the weed and do a probable cause search on the vehicle. They find the gummies, they know what they are. They're packaged for THC content, and so we snatch those up. So we have had an increase in those. For our animal control still, we struggled a little bit this year again because of we started the year with the animal shelter that we contract with in Emerald closed for COVID. They opened back up for a time period, and then we had a big distemper outbreak and closed the shelter again. So we're kind of up and down. We're working on those things. We're really working hard right now to revamp our entire animal control program and try to make that better. We are in the process of sending Ricky Cash, one of our patrol sergeants, to animal control school so that he can assist with that and supervise the animal control officer a little better and help her with some of the things she needs help with. But anyway, back to the numbers, that they're pretty consistent with average numbers. The wild animals are high because we live in Canyon and they follow the creek and they come into town, and it's a nice place if you're a wild animal to come and eat and stay and visit. So we do have some wild animal problems, but usually those, except for skunks, are relocated. We don't relocate skunks. But the animal control program is doing fairly well, and like I said, we're working very hard to rebuild that program and make it a little better. So back to traffic, we have the racial profiling report. The total number of citations issued this year by the Canyon Police Department was 2,682. We did 160 searches. 6 of those were consent searches, and 154 of those were probable cause searches. Like I said, probable cause searches are the ones where we can smell the marijuana, or we have probable cause to believe that a crime is occurring, and so we don't need to ask for permission or anything like that. So the real, I guess the meat and potatoes of the racial profiling report is all broke down into different percentages, and those kind of show where by race or ethnicity where the stops are occurring, and the percentage of the stops for different categories. I've looked at this. I looked at our demographics according to the census or the U.S. Census, and I look at the numbers. I look at the percentages, and I'm just trying to see something that's alarming. I'm obviously, y'all know me. I'm not an analyst I can't analyze a bunch of statistics and come up with something really cool. But I look at this the best I can to try to determine if we're having a problem, if we're stopping an inordinate amount of a certain race of people, so that we can try to see if we're doing something that might be biased. We look at the searches the same way to try to see if we're searching more of a certain race of people or a certain group of people versus not. Maybe we stop more white people, but we search more black people. That would be an indicator to me that I need to look at something and figure out why we're doing that and what the problem is. I know y'all don't want me to go through all these statistics and read them to you, as y'all can read them. I don't see any numbers that are concerning to me at this point. We want to keep watching this. We print this. We run this report every month just to make sure that we are collecting the data like we're supposed to, and that we're keeping up with the data like we're supposed to. I'm not seeing a huge problem. Maybe somebody from the outside would see something different, but the numbers just aren't indicating to me that we're doing something illegal or improper or biased or racist or anything like that. So that's kind of where I'm at with the entire annual report, the racial profiling report, the traffic, and just our overall numbers. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Like I said, Matt Coggins knows everything recognition program if you want.
Well, there were 19 different animals, like, what was the craziest one? Do you know?
Miscellaneous.
So, yeah, I did. If you Facebook, I think we had 2 hawks this year. One was in a house.
It's an owl.
Was it an owl? Okay, thank you.
An owl
Sorry.
was in a house.
So, we did get them relocated. Relocated is a polite way of saying we turn them loose in somebody else's neighborhood.
So no complaints of racial profiling?
Oh, no, sir.
And I have one more question. Oh, it'll come to me. Oh, are your citations, when you say citations, you're not counting warnings?
Yes, sir. Well, we have to count verbal warnings, written warnings, and citations. We count we count warnings and citations.
So in the citations portion of the traffic part, that's citations and warnings?
Yes, sir. It still happens some, and I don't know how we got this information, to be honest with you. I saw somewhere we had in the result of the stop section, it said on the last page of the racial profiling report, where it says result of the stop, it's kind of red, it's hard to see. Or it says stop result. We have verbal warnings. I don't know where those came from. We technically don't allow our officers to do verbal warnings because they don't have any place to input that racial profiling data if we do a verbal warning. So we require a written warning or a citation just for documentation purposes, so we can comply with the report. Probably, you know as well as I do, this probably came from a guy entered a verbal warning into the system, like after they had made a stop, got a call, told the person, hey, slow down or whatever, go on about your way, and then they're like, well, if this shows up on my car recordings, which we check every month, we check video recording, random video recordings every month of the car videos. The supervisors check those to watch the officers conduct the stop and see if they see anything that's an indicator of a problem to them. So I assume that the verbal warnings in this case came up as, I don't want my video to pop up with me having to stop and not having a ticket to show for it. So they go in the system and probably generate a verbal warning.
Well, and although it's not, maybe not allowed by policy for good reason, because there's a checkbox on the racial profiling, the stat gives you indication that the state doesn't necessarily have a problem with it.
The state doesn't have any problem with it at all.
And I'm not
And I
saying-
don't, other than I need the data.
Yeah, it's not a good practice.
Right.
So are you doing your own comparative analysis like to poll once, or are you sending it to TCOL to do for them?
So TCOL requires that I enter the numbers, the actual numbers into the system, and I'll do that. And then we are required to scan the percentages as a separate document, and we will do that. I don't send it to an outside contractor to analyze my stuff.
As a person that's been looking at racial profiling for the last 2.5 weeks, y'all looks really, really good. If anybody's wondering what good racial profiling stats look like, that's what they look like right there. You can defend those every which way. Good police work out there.
From that comment, does that mean it's representative of our community demographics? Is that what you mean?
I mean, it wouldn't, I think so, because it's probably already checked that, so, yeah. And also on the Part 1 crimes, the way those are reported now, there's really no, the types of assaults, like you said, that are reported, it's not an indication of increasing crime necessarily. So, I don't think it's anything to be liable.
So if you notice the number of Caucasians that received a citation or had contact with the police was 73%. According to the according to the United States Census Bureau, the percentage of white, Caucasian, not Hispanic, or Latino in Canyon, Texas is 77%. For African Americans, we're at 5.3%, and the percentage according to the census is, lost my spot, sorry.
Is that in your report?
It's 2.5%. Ma'am?
Is that in?
No, ma'am.
I'll see the report.
Oh, okay. So I compare that, at first glance, the African or Black or African American alone percentage for the census is half of what we had contact with during our traffic stops, 2.5, 5.3. So that's a double. It causes me a little concern. But then I have I'm having to match it with definitions in the Census Bureau. So it's the alone thing that throws this off. They're talking single family households. We're stopping through traffic and visiting traffic. I just don't have anything there to say this is a huge problem, even though the percentage doubled.
Well, if you were able to pull the stats just on city streets, you can make an argument that those stats need to match what the census says the people who live in this community. But when you have almost 500 stops on U.S. highway, and you have 150 stops on state highway, the assumption is those aren't for people. And so how would you
know where the university fits in with the Census Bureau. So, but we deal with university people out in town. Those university people like to party.
Not included. If you met the professors, you know why they party.
Chief, I think in the past, we've always thought we've done a good job solving crimes. What you're feeling now, and do we track those numbers, those percentages?
Yes, sir. I didn't provide them in this report in the interest of being a little brief. I mean, I can provide you any number you want. Anytime you ask, I can, if you give me a little head start. Generally, we average about in the area of 500 of cases that go to a detective. I couldn't tell you how many of those get solved. I can tell you that our detectives are top notch. They're really doing great work. They work very hard. Like I mentioned, the arson, that we were able to solve that arson. We got a confession from the suspect. The detectives worked with the state fire marshal's office to bring that together and get that guy charged. We've worked lots of assaults and sexual assaults that we're able to get those cases presented. We have a good relationship with the district attorney's office. We're kind of noted, if I can brag, for some of our quality work and going a little above and beyond. I feel very confident that we're going to continue to solve the majority of the cases that we run across. It's frustrating when we run across when we get hit some weekend with 20 auto burglars, or usually that's one person, and it's frustrating. It's one of those deals that it may be 6 months or a year down the road that something pops up and identifies who that is, or somebody tells on them. There are a lot of cases we don't solve that are frustrating, and it bothers us, but we're working those very hard to find that out. I feel like I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question, I kind of rambled. I feel like we're on a good track with our detectives. I think we solve a big majority of our cases. I don't have the number, but those guys are doing a really good job. They're pretty phenomenal.
So of the thefts, or so, just do you have a ballpark idea of how many you think we solved?
I would put us at around just a ballpark, probably 60-65%, and I want to qualify that because that's probably a pretty self-serving number. A lot of those are theft suspects that are shoplifters at Walmart that get captured by store security, and so the store security calls us, and we come out there, we make a theft report, we write them a ticket, and they go, we go, and that's considered a solved case. And we didn't really solve that, but we're going to claim it as solved. We do our part. Jabril was the Walmart security guy. We hired him. That counts for something.
All right.
No other questions?
Chief, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. We appreciate y'all's work.
Thank you, sir. I
I
appreciate
believe
it.
you do have to take action to approve the racial profiling.
Okay. So I do need a motion to accept both the annual report and the racial profile.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion second to accept the Police Department 2021 annual report and the 2021 racial profiling report. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, Chief and Captain.
Thank you. I think I'm next up. I'm going to hang out.
Do what?
I think I'm next up. I'm going to hang out.
Oh,
okay.
gosh,
Okay.
man.
Great.
I know it's Valentine's, I'm trying to keep this to under 2 hours.
I appreciate that. Okay, item number 10, is consider and take appropriate action, resolution number 02, 2022, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Keene, Randall County, Texas, authorizing the submission and acceptance of a grant application to the Office of the Governor for the DJ Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program for the purchase of crash data retrieval hardware and software for the City of Keene Police Department, and authorizing the Chief of Police to represent the city in all matters pertaining to the application.
Thank you, sir. So, recently we asked for a resolution for this year's budget grant, or this budget year's grant. I think we did that backwards, but they approved our grant and everything was set to go, and so they came and asked they said, we need your resolution. So that's why we asked for it. This is for the next budget year, for the 2023 budget year. 2024 budget year, that we're asking for the next grant. We're trying to get our resolution in line as we submit the grant. Captain Coggins submitted that grant last week, and so we're just trying to stay ahead and not be dragging behind, if you're wondering why we're asking for two back-to-back, so to speak. This one is for some crash data retrieval hardware and software. As you just saw, our crash numbers are going up. We have a good we have a great accident investigation team. We partnered a couple years ago with Public Works to buy some equipment that helps us pinpoint the locations of evidence and the accident scene to measure out and diagram and document that accident scene. But one of the things we don't have that we are dependent upon the Department of Public Safety for is equipment to read the black box. When your vehicle's involved in a crash, it activates a black box, kind of like an airplane, and we use that data to help us determine the cause or contributing factors or what didn't happen in those crashes to help us. If you remember the crash on Highway 60 where the lady had stopped in the roadway and she got rear-ended, once we were able to finally get that black box read, we didn't know it at the time, but we had no other way to prove the speed of the guy that hit her. Once we read the black box, it told us that he was going 110 miles an hour. So it's pretty valuable information if we can get that kind of stuff off of the black box. It changed it from a not your fault accident to this is your fault accident. You hurt somebody really bad. So it's pretty valuable. That's what we're trying to do this year. The total cost of the project is $36,175. The city, if things go as they traditionally do, we'll pay 50% of that. Our 50% match will be $18,088. This money will be asked for in the upcoming budget plan when we ask for our budget. However, if it's not approved in the budget, we can decline the grant when the time comes if it should be approved for the grant. So it's no loss for us if you give us this resolution to apply for it and then it's administered and submit the grant, but then later we can't pull this off. We can just decline and walk away. No harm, no foul. So we're simply asking for a resolution.
How long have they been putting those black boxes in?
The more sophisticated now, well, obviously they're more sophisticated each year, I think. I want to say around 2010 is when they started getting to the point where we could pull data off of them. They're not super long, and it's not. I used an airplane as my demonstration. Those are constantly recording. On a vehicle, they've got to crash to activate that recorder to give us any information. We can't just hook up to to your car and see that you were speeding or you didn't signal or weren't wearing your seatbelt or whatever. There's got to be a crash to activate it, and it's got to be a fairly significant crash.
So you have some kind of service agreement with it also, or?
Yes. We are, we're gonna have to, bail me out here, Matt.
About $12.50 a year for subscription services, is that what we're talking about? Yeah, that'll get us 2 licenses. We may potentially get 4 for the reconstruction or the crash investigations team. So each person can have that software available, but it'll be one device that will download from the car or the black box to their tablet. So we have 4 subscriptions at the most, starting off with 2.
We all attempt to budget for it if y'all don't get the grant.
Eventually, maybe, but it's a, right now, DPS is the only ones who have a device, an APD. DPS is, as you know, is really hard to catch in town. Trooper Parker's the only one who can do that, I think. And with border trips and capital trips, it's really hard to get a DPS trooper to be here and download that, provide us the analysis. Amarillo PD does theirs a little different. We always write a warrant to obtain the black box data. So that causes a problem if we can't get it. If we write a warrant and we can't get a trooper, so we're having to wait till the trooper says, yeah, I'm ready, and then run down to the judge and try to get the warrant signed so that our warrant doesn't expire before we download the box. APD doesn't do warrants. They're claiming an exigent circumstance. We kind of disagree, so we would just, plus it's hard to get APD just like it's hard to get DPS. So we would like, we're in applying for our grant, we're saying that the top 26 counties, if they call us and say, hey, we got a warrant, we want you to download this black box, they can either bring me the box or we'll send somebody to do it for them, to try to do our part and get back a little bit if PRPC should and OOG should fund us.
Well, the expectation is that we investigate those motor vehicle crashes, and the technology's there. The technology's already proven to show that you can't really do every crash without it, especially when it's a fatality. And I think it's a no-brainer.
Well, and that's the fatal. If you take a case to the district attorney that doesn't have a black box download that's a fatal, you really missed out on. They're going to look at your investigation as you didn't do everything you needed to do. It's really hard to go back and try to find a vehicle once it's gone to salvage or the insurance company. If we had our box and we could download within a day or two, then that would really be beneficial for us. And like I said, every other Hereford, Dumas, Borger, Pampa departments our size that don't have those kind of things, that will help those guys out if we can.
Was that a motion there, Brooke?
So moved.
Second.
All right. We have a motion second. All in favor of applying for the grant, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. All right, that takes us to item number 11. Consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 3-2022, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Randall County, Texas, authorizing the submission and acceptance of a grant application to the Office of Governor for the DJ Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program for the purpose of hardware, software, and court enhancements for the City of Canyon Municipal Court, and authorizing the county clerk of the Canyon Municipal Court to represent the city in all matters pertaining to the application. Sheila?
Okay, can I just do ditto and that what she said. No. So this is a grant. Like I said, this is new. So first I have to say thank you to Gretchen, because at 4 o'clock on Thursday I was like, I screwed up. I need help. So she helped me get this together for you guys. But this is a grant that I would like approval if it's awarded and accepted, that we use that. This is something with the chief's approval that will help bridge the gap for court and the police department. It benefits the police department a little bit more than so far the court. For the court aspect of it, and for most of you know, I'm a one-man show in court. So it's myself, and then Chuck gets to deal with me when I need him, and then I have the judge part-time. But I'm entering the tickets, the racial profiling, little boxes on the tickets and everything. That's a function that I have to do, and sometimes if there's a busy weekend, I'm looking at 20 or 30 tickets that I'm manually entering in. It takes a little while, especially when you have the phone ringing and they want to know what's going on with their citation or to get in front of the judge. For the officer standpoint, where our gap is, a lot of you don't know, we do in-person courts every month, and that is for anybody that has not appeared on a traffic citation. Code enforcement, we're working code enforcement complaints now as well. If they haven't appeared, the judge is issuing those arrest warrants. Well, there's nowhere for us to send those arrest warrants right now through the police software. And so what that means is we're going back in time, and I'm taking a list of warrants, and I'm handing them to Sergeant Hernandez, who's working those warrants for me, and he's actually has to have the warrant in front of him, and he's calling and making contact that way to have that person come in. Where it bridges the gap for the court and the police is when those officers do any type of traffic stop or they're going on a call, the handheld equipment, which is part of the software, Brazos and Odyssey, those officers can see all that information. They know, oh, okay, this person has a warrant. Okay, well, you might not, they have the option to arrest them, but they also have the option to say, hey, by the way, I don't know if you can just go to this website right now and you can just pay your ticket and you don't need to go visit Randall County. And that, we had 7 warrants clear on Friday, just that alone. Just Officer Hernandez, or Sergeant Hernandez, I'm sorry, calling and making that contact. That's information that the officers can use out in the field. The other benefit to this software, if we can get this and you do approve it, is, and probably they both can attest to this, the current software right now, if you did a ride-along with the officers, they go to the car, they take their driver's license, they leave the car, they're back to the car, they're typing it in, they're calling back to dispatch, is there a trespass warning on this person? Is this person mental? All this information they don't have with our current software. This current software right now, they walk up to a car, they can take the driver's license, they can even scan the ticket or the registration sticker on that person's vehicle, and it pulls that information. So while that officer's standing right there, they can say, oh, okay, he's trespassed from here, this is a mental, or I need to proceed with caution. All this information they'll now have in their hands versus going to the car, going back to the patrol car, going back to the car. That's another feature for the department. The next one is this is a college town, so if you're getting dispatched to a loud, a noise complaint, and you have 30 people in the house and they're writing tickets, the process is we're going to leave and make a line, and they're going to come to the patrol car, or we're going to go to the backyard and stand and make sure they're not jumping over the fence. You have officers leaving each other for their backup, whereas now, and they're not going to like it, I made the joke, they'll have a man satchel, which has the printer on there, and the handheld where they're going into the party, and it's just printing out and they're handing it. So they're not alone, they're not having to go back and forth. So that's a benefit for the department. That also, their tickets, they no longer have to worry about me going, I need a ticket, you forgot to pull it out of your box, or where's it at in the car. it's put electronically. I just download it that morning and it all comes through. So it enhances their job a little bit better. They don't have to spend as much time at traffic stops. So I think their benefits outweigh mine, other than me having to go, I need this, and they don't have to look at me, in the mornings or whatever. There's that, and then we have the other part of the grant with the other software was the Tyler Public Safety. So in 2017, you allowed me to get in-code court because I needed that. Again, I needed legal documentation had to go out. That software allowed me to do that. They did not change from Cardinal or Badge. They stayed in their software, which is fine. We've been working through it. I think Chief and I have some headaches with the racial profiling. That's a very detailed report that he has to do, and if I don't get it all in there, I'm messing up his report, and I don't want that responsibility. So the Tyler Public Safety, I think Chief worked with that in Toya, had a little bit with Amarillo, has a little bit better features, probably helps them out a little bit more, and they could probably attest to that and tell you about that. And then the court improvements, the court's missing some things, and some of those are very simple, like a copier. I don't have a copy machine, so I'm literally leaving and going to another office for a copy, to make copies. Get that. We also have to have a bailiff. With COVID and courts now opening up, most of our officers that we were using for the off-duty to come in, Randall County has taken them because they have court going on like crazy. I think Chuck can attest to everything that's going on over at the Justice Center. So I put this together. This is my first go-around on a grant. I hope that I can get everything, and I just ask that you allow me the opportunity to do that and benefit myself, the court, and how about my fellow co-workers in the police department. So, have any questions or anything?
So when the officer writes a citation now, it doesn't automatically upload into your system?
No. Unfortunately, they're having a lot of problems with the printers because they're so outdated. And so Mobile Site, they're on back order now for how many months to get new printers?
Yeah, so even if we do an electronic ticket,
They're not printing.
You have to draw them in or something. We have to do a download or something because the systems don't really talk so much.
Majority of the tickets.
But we're doing a lot of handwritten tickets now. It's like two different problems. We're doing a lot of handwritten tickets because our printers are old, and we ordered at the start of the budget year. We ordered new printers for all of our cars to make them compatible. They're, I don't know where they're at. Pacific Ocean, Canadian border. I got nothing. We haven't seen them, and they won't tell us where. They can't tell us where they're at. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sir?
Sounds like you need a warrant.
Yeah. I mean, if you,
Can't write one, the system won't recognize it.
I mean, we can bring you up the tickets that,
So
I mean, they're, the
They
majority
can
of them are
bring in
handwritten.
the electronic ones that we are able to pull up, and we're surviving. We're just kind of having to band-aid those printers together for right now.
So when the printers come in, does that solve the problem?
It will eliminate one of the problems, because then she'll be able to download most of them. She's still going to have to check them because of some kind of crazy software issue where it's not recognizing the difference between a warning and a citation. But I don't know if we're all on encode, that's going to fix the majority of those problems. We haven't done a lot of research into encode, so I don't know that. I mean, it's not like, even if she gets the grant, we're still going to do some checking on encode. As far as the handheld ticket writers, that's just part of Tyler's system.
But so Brazos Odyssey is the ticket writing system, where that also, so Odyssey works with Randall County Jail. So when they arrest someone, they take them to jail. Right now, the process is if they don't have the warrant scanned in the badge or they don't have a paper copy of a warrant, then they're not booking them in at Randall County because they don't actually have the warrant for the jail to scan that in to have that put on that P. They can list it on the P3, but if they don't actually have the warrant, then they can't book them in. So Odyssey, we can use our Odyssey, we'll work with Randall County, so the jail and ourselves can communicate better that way as well. And also, because we have a part-time judge, Judge Cates is doing jail arraignments every day and on the weekends, and so she can have access to our warrants, she can pull them up, and she can also be arraigning them the same time she's doing Amarillo's as well. Kind of double added feature in there.
Sheila, am I reading this correctly? There's not a match on that? There's not a local match?
No, there's no match. So I applied through court, and based just the fact that we're small enough, I applied for under the feel sorry for me, woe is me, and hopefully I can get all the money where there's nothing that I'm not requesting anything be matched. So
I don't understand, the money who's going to be requested in that
2023.
Do what?
2023.
So if we didn't, I don't understand, what money are we requesting? If we're not having a match?
You still gotta request the grant.
Yeah, you still can buy something.
Yeah. And then that money will go to pay.
Most of these grants are typically reimbursed, purchased and then reimbursed.
I get it. So
It still takes formal action from the governing body to do these grants.
we pay for with this money, not pay the money back.
Typically, yes, but you still have to approve the purchase because you're obligating this organization to the strings attached to that money, and there always are. And you gotta use it, you can't take it and sell it off immediately, you know. But there's stipulations to the monies in those items.
If there's no more questions, then I move that we adopt resolution number 03-2016.
Second. Have a motion and second to adopt resolution number 03-2022. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, you. Okay, takes us to item number 12, to consider and take appropriate action on final version of City of Canyon Strategic Plan from Lyle Sumac. John?
Yes. Excuse me. You all should have gotten in your agenda packet the memo that had some links to all the documentation that was associated with Lyle. And y'all remember Lyle likes paper, so I didn't run you all another large notebook of all of those things. Hopefully you got a chance to look at those links and look at those documents. The only one that I ran for you tonight, a couple of documents, were what he called the strategic plan in brief, and this was the sheet that he said we should keep in front of us to remind us what it is we're trying to do and what you all had included in the strategic plan, which has the policy agenda, things we're trying to get done this year, the high priority management agenda, what the staff is trying to get done, what the things on top priorities and high priorities. So I ran that for you. And then I also ran the major projects and the management in progress. Management in progress were things that we didn't complete last year as a staff that we were continuing to work on and try to complete. And then on the back side, the purple, are projects that we committed to get done this budget year. Specifically associated with that purple side of those projects would be the bound document that I did run off for you, the action agenda. That is where it talks about the goals briefly, it shows you the goals, policy management, and then it hits each one of the projects that we committed to doing and provides you with the timeline that those would get done in. Those are all the projects that you all voted on as far as saying what was the most important, what was the least important, what we needed to get done. And if you flip past the projects, it actually moves to a monthly calendar, and it says in the month of January we should have reported on the golf course. We should have a golf course presentation, a discussion, and direction, and we should make a decision on fire staffing direction. And we've done both of those things. So I've highlighted those in mine to say, that's done. February, a decision on the Project Santa Fe, which is where we've been talking about that, we'll reach that. And a decision on the strategic plan and action agenda, which is what we're here tonight to talk about. So we're right on track with the first projects that were listed. And I ran you a copy of this simply so that you would have that, carry that with you. When those times when you say, where are we on this? When are we supposed to get there? We'll have them too and say, well, next month you'll be hearing from us on that. Or, you're right, we missed a deadline and we need to pick up the pace and get that done. So those were specifically associated with projects, and I felt like that those were the things that you all were the most concerned about throughout that plan were the projects. What are we going to get done and what are our goals? So I provided those to you. Again, those other links had multiple other documents, including a lengthy one that went through all of the plans and things that you all the voting that you made as far as priorities on projects. That was a lot for you to get on Wednesday of last week. My memo says that, you know, if you all are prepared to move forward with adopting these items, that's fine. And if you all need some more time to read through those items before you're prepared to do that, then it's up to you to make a decision on what you'd like to do. Joe, was there anything else on that?
No, the only thing that changed, there might have been a few dates or things we moved back just for timing purposes. We've tried to be realistic on trying to achieve what's in there. Obviously, there's a lot to be achieved in there. And we're going to strive, and a lot of the things we've already done, a lot of those things are already in the works. So there was a few timelines that may have moved back a month or two. And there were some that were, honestly, there were some that were already completed on the last review that John and I did. And it's just John and I reviewing it, looking at the dates. We didn't change anything substantive other than a few dates here and there. Some moved from, we expected 2 months later that were completed already, or some we had to move back a month. Other than that, nothing else has changed.
Nothing moved off the table, though.
Nothing moved off the table.
Everything was still there.
We're just trying to be realistic of timing and staff load. I think, looking at this already, John's right, we already got the ones in January marked off. February is underway, as well. Several things in March are also underway as well.
Correct.
Number 3, John and I were talking about the last 2 weeks under March. We're still working on number 2 with Randall County. Public Finance Infrastructure Act, that's something we do on a regular basis. And we're working on the tiered policy as we speak, trying to get that done.
Our next step, if you all adopt this, would be to our department heads and make sure they're aware of their dates. They were part of this process. They actually set those dates with Lyle. But then we'll push that back down and say, here we go, and make sure everybody's on the right calendar, moving ahead with their projects.
And John, the next time you will come back to us to report progress is...
I anticipate quarterly or twice a year, whatever, similar to Danny's dynamic presentations, when Danny and I do those rather dynamic presentations to you all, and on the on the comprehensive plan, we would do the same thing here, where we would come forward and share with you all where we are on all those projects.
We have ever...
I'd say 50% dynamic, the other part.
I don't think they're working.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
We're going to start off doing this quarterly. John will be the front runner with myself on this.
So we'll bring those to you.
He will bring a dynamic quarterly report to you all.
There you go. And that's why I provided you with a copy too. You all throw it, put it in your box, keep it. Flip through there. It's like where are we? I mean, we're going to be doing the same thing. Joe's going to turn to me and John, where are we? What's next month? We're looking ahead already. We're not going to wait till March 1 to look at page March 1 and get started, because we need it on March agenda if it's an ordinance or something that we have to change.
Well, what is y'all's pleasure?
Did you
ready to move forward, Mr. Mayor, with strategic plan implementation, and it already has. So,
I think we should, I think we're all good. We should probably try. I wanna move the adopt the Canyon strategic plan.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the Canyon strategic plan, all associated documents. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you, John.
Great, we'll keep moving.
we do intend to release this to the public via, Megan's already working on a press release, and we will definitely make this readily available on our city website for any and all of the public to read, as well as y'all.
Great. Thank you. All right, another big one here, Joe. Item number 13, consider and take appropriate action on City of Canyon Capital Improvement Program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, you'll notice I did print out a hard copy for each of y'all. In front of you, I don't have one in front of me. But I can walk you through some of this. There's 8 pages on the master listing. This shouldn't be any, I don't think it's any different than what I sent out to you via email. The subsequent page behind the 8th page, I did include a TxDOT project page, so you have an idea of TxDOT related projects that are directly affecting our community. And then the very last page is the completed projects, and those are recent completed projects. We haven't gone back in the last so many years to do those. The completed projects consist of Fifth Avenue water line replacement, which we use with bond money, and then the Blue Frog system out of the wastewater plant, both of which y'all are very familiar with. As the first 8 pages, this project's complete and finished, there's one on there that's near to completion, and that's the AMR. That will be rolling off. Talking to the water department, they are 13 meters away from doing that. They're fixing minor things here and there, have gone back and got everything lined out, but that one's ready to move over to completed. And that's why that one's kind of grayed out. Right now, looking just at next year, there is a significant amount of capital projects. The first 34 projects on there have been kind of pushed up to the top of what's A, are they already underway, B, in the current budget, C, in next year's budget, or D, is in the next 2 to 3 years budget. So those have kind of elevated the top. Those 34 are not in any ranked order at any set. Everything subsequent on down from that is other projects that are in the queue. For example, we did a study of the east side of town and what it would take to do infrastructure to the east. That project is in this document. It is not up in the top part of the project as it's a $20 million project, but it is in here. A lot of these for next year, we've got approximately $6 million in capital for next year. We have a community development block grant. That's the second one on the list. You'll see the normal additions, utility improvements. We applied for that 2 years ago. We're queued up to get that this next year. We do have a commitment of $428,000 for a $350,000 grant. And you can see the project description of exactly where that's at. So that's in the queue. Do you have a question? Okay, sorry. Number 1 on the list is already out for RFQs. Mr. Burns and Mr. Boyer are actively working on that. That is actually on our new purchasing page. We have a new purchasing page on our website that is requesting professional services for an architect related to design of a police station and remodel of City Hall and the fire station. That one's actively out there. The 2 that are shaded, those are eligible for a TIERS projects, our tax increment reinvestment zone. The very first project on there, we applied twice already and have been denied twice for a downtown revitalization grant through Texas Department of Agriculture. We intend to try to continue to pursue that as long as we continue to get grant money. The next one after that is Hunsley Road, and I've got a sign out here. One of the things we've been trying to do, or at least I've put a prerogative on, is putting project description signs out to the public. How many times have you driven by something and wondered what it is? Well, we want some transparency, and Megan and the Public Works Department have been working on this. And Megan designed this. We didn't reinvent the wheel here. Chris, will you lift that up so we can all see it? ultimately, when we have these projects that go out and they're being constructed, we're gonna try to put a sign out just like this out there. Chris and his department with Dan, they're working on trying to do a placement sign. That would be double-sided. We do have a second one, but that just shows that would go out on our Hunsley Road project. Project completion anticipation. It has phone numbers in the bottom corner, the contractor, Emerald Utilities. So we thought that would be a really cool thing to have. Just us showing that we're investing in the future of Canyon. Each capital project will have a sign like that as we continue to move forward. So wanted to show that to you. Continuing on down the project list, 18th Street Extension. That project is tied directly to Kylie Heiner Park. We already have $120,000 set aside from previous budget. We weren't able to get another piece of the budget in this year, so this coming year we'll have to do $130,000. That is a street extension directly for the Kylie Heiner all-inclusive playground. That's a $250,000 project. Master Parks plans a couple of years out. Anticipate $100,000 on that. Burn House rebuild. You'll hear an update on that from Mr. Boyer and I think Chief stepped out on that project. That project is well underway. Actually, Eric demoed that building. Thank you, Eric, for doing that. So we did that in-house. We demoed the building. We do have to get a civil engineer to design that building, and those I think those have been completed, Bo. Is that correct? That's correct. We'll have an update on that, but that is in the works. We do have to bid that out. We are internally bidding that out. So it's the first time we've really are actually bidding something out. A lot of times with these major projects, our engineer does some of that. But we are actually, internal staff is bidding that project out. We're working on that right now. Outdoor warning system. I know Dennis is probably somewhere in this building cringing like I am. Those have still not come in. We are still waiting on the radio parts on those. We have authorized to move that project forward. The dollars are all spent and set aside. Unfortunately, right now the contractor, JJ, who does Emerald, is going to install everything he can until those components come in. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. That project, or that contract is working through Bo and through purchasing, and he's working actively with that, but that's an unfortunate right now. I'm hoping we have that by storm season. There's nothing we can do. We're not the only community that's going through that. We're just lacking the radio components, I believe. Is that right, Bo?
That's
the
correct.
radio. So we'll go ahead and do that. Once we get it, we can still manually do it for you guys if we had to manually go out there for the new zone. Pivot number 2 is in the works. That pivot out our wastewater farm has been budgeted for this budget year. John Poole's working on that. Water barn facility, we have already purchased that. Eric and his crew is working on the remodel of that building. I believe those operations are underway. AMI, I've already mentioned that. Breeze Hanger, we had a conversation 2 or 3 months ago about that. Those are already budgeted. We're waiting for school to close out to finish that. That's some concrete lines under Reeves Hanger that we're trying to redo. Pump station, that's what we're doing our ARPA funds for. We're anticipating $2.5 million for that project. So that's kind of the first page. Y'all, I could go through more. Kind of the first 34 projects are what's already in line as we move forward. I will say that 4th Street Pump Station, that action came to this commission 10 years ago. And we shifted that decision to buy water out at Rockwell. And so we're just now able to get back to that project. That originally was going to I think John was on commission, and that project's going to go out. So I'm very encouraged that project is going to go out. Is there any projects that anybody would like me to go over? We're more than happy to let y'all comb through this some more if y'all want to. We are going to try to rank projects next budget year. That will be a task undertaking all of its own. Right now, most of the projects that are up at the top were already ones that we've already voted on from the body. There were grant projects or projects that are already in the work that this body should be aware of. I think the most time spent on this with staff was doing the project descriptions to have a true description of what the project entails. Mr. Mayor, would you like me to go over anything else?
I don't think so for this evening, Joe. I think, I see we could do a couple different things. If want more time to look at it, we could wait and approve it in another meeting. I think also possibly we could go ahead and approve it. There might be merit in us, having a work session here in a couple months or something, just to kind of talk through some of this and all too. So I think any of those are possibilities. whatever, commission, if we're ready to approve it, we can approve it tonight and then move forward. It is going to be a work in process, and so Joe talked, the ranking and all, coming up as well.
We'll look at this every year, and, we'll try to have updates as we go through the year as projects go up, so, this isn't gonna go away, it is a plan. So, it will be its own budget process, just like the annual budget.
I see this as huge as far as, through the years, as we have something that comes up and is pressing and urgent. Without this, we really don't have the ability to go in, okay, yeah, we really need to do that, but what else is pressing and urgent here that's going to have the funds that we need to consider too? So with this, I think that's, back again, I really appreciate this being put together because I really think that is great for our decision making as a commission.
The next challenge in regards to this, continuously identifying projects will be an ongoing thing. And so our finance department, Bo and Joel and myself are looking at what capacity our community has for debt. How much debt can we take on at one time? Rolling debt on and off our coffers, cash flowing, long-term forecasting. So we've got some challenges there to switch and go a new direction that we've really not gone before, Like the significant $20 million project out to the east. If we were going to do that today, we need to go and wait and go through the Texas Water Development Board to do that project. There's too much cost savings to do it that way instead of doing a traditional CO. So those things take time and effort and manpower, but that's the way we should do it. We should plan it out. Those major, significant $20 million projects. But that's something that finance will work with city administration on, trying to work on debt management. And they're working on formalizing a debt policy to bring to this body on how we take on debt. What's our philosophy on debt? So we will be bringing that next. Exciting stuff. If you're nerdy like I am.
Commission, what's your pleasure? Do you want to go ahead and approve it tonight, or do you want to take some time to look at it, come back, and we can look at it here in a couple months or something too. Yeah.
I'm good either way.
Do y'all like the signs? Is that something else?
Yeah.
That is good score.
I feel like I'm good either way with these two.
I'd suggest, what if we do go ahead and approve it then tonight, but then, let's get a little bit more educated on the projects, maybe within our work session.
A lot of the ones definitely, Gary, are going to be a part of the annual budget process, so we will be learning more about those ones, some of the ones I've mentioned tonight.
Second.
Right. We have a motion and second to go ahead and approve the Canyon Capital Improvement Program, the listing, and again, great work on city, and I know a lot of hours put in on this, so appreciate that. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. So, well, thank you all. I know a lot of folks had hand in that.
It was a lot, very much.
Okay, item number 14, consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1152, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, amending the city's budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020, ending September 30th, 2021, as adopted by ordinance number 1128, providing for an increase of expected revenues, expenditures, and transfer of certain funds, providing that prior parts of the ordinance number 1128 inconsistent with and and in conflict with any of the provisions of this ordinance are hereby expressly repealed to the extent of any such inconsistency or conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. There's really only one item on this amendment, and it has to do with that ARPA grant funding that we received in August. That was the first tranche of the COVID Relief Act money that we received. If you saw there on the CIP, we've already got 2 projects that we'll be using that money for. However, going through looking at some guidance from GFOA and also talking with our outside auditor, that money needs to be classified as a liability rather than as revenue in the fiscal year that we received it. So when we received it, we booked that as revenue. I actually brought you an amendment last time to amend for that because we hadn't budgeted for that. However, we're understanding better that we need to classify that as a liability. So the deal is that actually we have that money in our bank account, but we'd actually owe that back to the U.S. Treasury if we didn't follow through and spend this on these capital projects. And at any point in time, we could decide to turn it back if we decided not to do that. That's not our plan right now at this moment. We have 2 projects, the 4th Street water facility, and then also the enforcement out toward the wastewater farm. Both of those projects will more than use this 1.9 million. However, for the financial statements, we need to get this amended. This amendment will lower that grant revenue budgeted, and it also lowers the transfer out where we're moving that over to our CIP fund that we created late in the fiscal year. And we'll show the liability actually in that CIP fund in our financial statements. That's all there is to this. Any questions?
I'm just glad we've got an accountant overseeing this. All the roadmap.
I'm thankful there's other accountants that are analyzing it and questioning, and it's an unusual situation without.
Mayor, I move that ordinance number 1152 amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget be adopted.
Second.
Have a motion second to adopt ordinance number 1152. Is there any further questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Thank you, Joe. All right, item number 15. Information update concerning the burn house at Canyon Fire Department Training Drill Field located at 101 First Street, Canyon, Texas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As was mentioned before, part of the CIP plan, but also included within this fiscal year budget, we are planning on constructing a burn house for the training of our fire department. The plans, the building plans, the building specifications have been completed. They have been turned in. So our next step is to begin soliciting for bid proposals. That's next step we'd like to take starting next week. Finalizing what that document's going to look like, getting ready to publicize that on our website, our new purchasing page, also the newspaper, and to select vendors. Just want to keep you all up to date as this goes on. This building is going to be a single story, cinder block wall style. Just the main focus is for the training of our fire department.
And funds have we've already got those allocated.
Yeah, that's budget here, yes, sir.
And this is just for discussion only, so there's no action required unless there's other questions for Bob.
Cool. Well, we'll bring back the contract for award once those bids have been received. We will solicit those to local builders.
Is there a number?
No, there's
Eric's got other things to do.
All right, thank you both, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 16 is consider and take appropriate action on authorization to purchase truck for animal control as budgeted and approved in the 2021-2022 city meeting budget. Oh, looks like you and the chief are presenting.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. This is a budget expense for this fiscal year, but because it is over $50,000, we do still require commission approval. As was mentioned earlier, they're really trying to revamp and improve their animal control services, and a part of that is a new animal control vehicle. Current vehicle is a 2012 Chevy Silverado. This will be a new vehicle, as well as installation and construction of 6 containers to be attached to the vehicle. They will be air conditioned and heated for the safety and well-being of those animals stored in there and transported. There will also be a lift that will be able to be used to lift the animals themselves into those containers without further strain on the animal control officers.
We have no idea when this vehicle will ever come in, because trucks are in short supply right now.
It's with the printers. No parts to the sirens.
Yeah, the sirens and the printers are all in the same place.
They're all the same place.
Stuck with analog.
All right, any questions for Bo or Chief Rush? If not, would entertain the motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and second to purchase the animal control vehicle. Further discussion or questions? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, with that, I believe that takes us to item number 17, and I have 621, and we will adjourn into exec session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberations about real property, 551.087, economic development negotiations, 551.074, board appointments, planning and zoning commission, and 551.074, personnel matters, city manager evaluation. And with that, I appreciate you all. We will adjourn into exec session. Yeah, let's take a very quick bathroom break.
Yeah, you know I can barely.
Megan, will you be there Thursday?
This is just your first time, that's why you're asking.
Oh, I fully expect
I am.
Yeah.